Packing for traveling can be one of the most daunting tasks that a photographer can face. Because, we have in our mind all the things we're going to do, all the things we're going to see, and we don't want to miss a shot. So of course we bring all of the gear we possibly can fit into our bags or packs or cases. And then maybe we use it all, maybe we don't use any of it, but we are bad about how we pack for travel. And I certainly know that that has been true for me. I would willing to bet it's been true for you as well. Years ago, back when I did a lot more commercial work and travel and tourism, I had a shoot for a boot company in the wintertime in the Tetons. I took a couple of my friends out there and we laid out everything we were bringing in this huge flat lay on a concrete floor. We just got a drone up above us. It was a big project and it was a really cool opportunity to shoot that. But I look at that today and I'm like, oh my God, it took so much stuff. And then there was a time, even in the years before that, I had a music gig in Ireland, followed by a photo gig in the Middle East. And I did this big flat lay of all the gear that I was taking. And honestly, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I carried all of that. Well, actually, I can believe it. I remember it. I remember how heavy the bag was and all the gear I took. It was honestly not that much fun. Today, as a photographer, I definitely have slimmed down my kit, and I also only really shoot the Leica M system, whether it's digital or film, and that gear is so much smaller than your Sony gear, Canon, Nikon, whatever else is out there. But today I want to unpack a little bit of my travel philosophy on how I pack out gear. We're going to grab some bags, some cases, and load out. I'm going to tell you about what I'm doing and why I'm bringing what I'm bringing, and show you guys basically how today my mind has changed from bring it all to only bring what you need. I did a video last fall, I believe, about the camera bags that I have kept. I'm gonna link that right above. You can see what my philosophy is with camera bags and how I kind of landed on a system rather than a bag. So be sure to check that out if you want to learn more about the philosophy of camera bags. Today, we're gonna talk about the philosophy of loading the bag and case that I'm gonna bring with me on this trip. We're gonna start with the case, which is a Pelican Air 1535. Now, I kind of have three different mindsets and categories of how I'm gonna load out my gear. The first is whenever I'm packing for a photo project, and a project would be something that I'm traveling to a location that I have a specific vision for. I'm going there because I'm working on something that'll end up being a body of work, maybe for a client or for myself or whatever my vision is, but it's a body of work that I have intentionally set out to create. Whenever I'm loading out for a trip like that, I'm gonna bring everything that I need regarding the vision that I have. So for instance, last summer, I was working on a project on the Northern Plains. I've probably said that phrase 100 times on this channel at this point. Eventually, I'm gonna release this project, but right now, it's still just a project. But last summer, I was working on this project and it's very much medium format film driven, a little bit of 35mm film driven, and then I had a digital backup of everything that I did. And for that reason, I packed the cameras that I needed, which was the Rolleiflex 2.8F and the Hasselblad 500cm, because this project is shot a lot in square on medium format film. And for that reason, this case was loaded out with everything I needed for that kind of trip. All right, now let's talk about the second category, and this would be if you're traveling somewhere where you want to make sure you can get the best work you can possibly get, but you don't always have an end game in mind or some big vision. Maybe you've never been there before, you don't know what to expect, but you want to make sure you've got your options and have everything that you need. This is honestly where I think most photographers fall in when they travel, because we want to go somewhere fun and exciting, and we want to load out all the gear that we potentially need to make sure we can capture the best things possible that we can capture. But the problem with this category is that we overpack typically, and we don't always use all the gear that we bring. So we kind of come into something where we are thinking we're gonna use X, Y, and Z, but we get there and we end up doing just a run and gun setup the whole time. And that's totally fine. My goal today, hopefully, is to help your mentality with that. Now, this third category represents when you have to travel somewhere either for work or with your family. You've got a trip planned. It's not a photography trip. It's just a trip for some other reason, but you want to bring your camera and gear to make sure that whatever you do on this trip, you're gonna get some great photography. And this is what I'm about to do personally as I head to a conference. Now, I'm actually doing a road trip, and so I'm gonna drive from point A to point B. It's gonna be a nice long drive. And with a trip like that on the horizon, I'm not going to take a ton of gear because I don't want to bring all of these options. I just want to do this road trip, find some great places to stop. I'm definitely going to make some YouTube videos as well with these cameras around me right now, which don't get to get loaded out today because obviously we're using them. But I do have a philosophy about this category that I'm going to share with you. So at this point, we've talked about our 3 categories. Now let's talk about what we do with each one of those. And as we start talking about this project mentality, the biggest thing you got to do when you're loading out for a project is to let vision be your guide. You should always go into a project with some type of vision in mind that requires you to bring the options you need, but limit the options to what you actually need for your shoot. Now, given that I am using my 3 video cameras right now to shoot this video, I'm not going to be loading this out with my video kit. Therefore, I will be eliminating this entire part of the case because typically what rides here is my Sony a7S III with a lens attached to it. And I keep my lenses facing down. And on this side, I'm going to put my a7R5 with the lens facing up, so that these kind of sit into a groove with each other without knocking each other around. 2 cameras and 2 lenses is my typical video setup when I travel, and it's usually gonna be the Sony a7S III with the 16-35 and the Sony a7R5 with the 50 GM. And right there is about all I need when I'm doing videos like this. This section here starts to become my camera build out. If I'm just taking this case, which I really do try to limit a project to what I can fit in the case for travel, and then we add a bag for when we get there. And I'm actually gonna put this case away because I wanna get to the meat of this video. And that would be regarding this right here. This is a small camera cube from Peak Design, and this honestly is going to be what I intend to pack everything in when I go out in a category 2 or category 3 shoot, just as a photographer, disregarding video. Now, in this small Peak Design cube, I'm gonna put one more divider in right down the middle. This is my system for how I carry my cameras when I am on a category 2 trip, which is I wanna go out and get as much stuff as possible, but I'm not necessarily working on a project, or category 3, for me, which is I'm going somewhere, it's not necessarily a photography trip, but I do want to make sure that I have all the gear I need to have an awesome experience. I'm going to pack it differently, but this is going to be the same layout for either one. By the way, hold on, let me grab this guy real quick. Now, I've been asked multiple times about my organization just from Instagram stories when I show this. I'm going to show it to you guys. Inside of my Husky Workbench, I have all these little trays that snap together, and you can customize whatever layout you want, however you want to divide things up. This is my setup. I'm gonna link these trays below. They're honestly not really that expensive. Look how much organization you can do in here. So those are linked below. If you find this helpful, hit it up. I have these in every drawer. I'll show you. But today we're gonna be looking at putting some of this Leica gear inside this bag. So my goal is always to take the M11 and M6 and 4 lenses. That's going to be my setup 99% of the time. How I'm going to load this out is to put a lens on the 35 and a lens on the 50. And the lenses I'm going to ride and die on are the 50 on the M6. And this is because of my philosophy for shooting film and digital in tandem. Link is right above. And I'm going to put that on one side. I'm gonna take the M11 and put the 35 on it, put it on the other side. And now you're kind of seeing my 2 dividers here. I've got a 90 Sumarit and a 28 Summicron. Now I've got a 2 camera and 4 lens setup right here in this bag. And the nice thing about this Peak Design small camera cube is that I can contextualize this into any bag that I want. For this upcoming trip, I'm gonna be bringing this Filson 24-hour briefcase. Open that pocket up. I'm gonna put the bag down in there. And you can see what's going on in here. Everything fits, and I even have some headroom still for other things. And this bag is basically going to be my carry for I'm going somewhere. I don't know what I'm gonna get, but I wanna have great photos. This is my travel bag. It's not even that heavy because it's Leica gear. It's not, like a bag full of Sony or Canon gear. What I'll typically do is take my Pocket 3, which I'll just grab it so you guys can see it. Here we go. What I'll typically do with this is just set it down on the top here. One of my philosophies is that our gear is not as fragile as we think it is. So I'll just, throw this in its little case, throw it on top, and I'll be good to go. So what I'll typically do is I'll travel with the Pelican case with the video gear typically, or if it's just a photography trip with some photo gear if I need it. But the Leica gear is gonna ride in the bag and stay right here on me at all times. This ensures I don't overpack, and if it doesn't fit in here or this starts to get heavy, it's not coming. This is gonna be it. Now you could have the same mentality for your third category, which is I'm going somewhere for work, for family or whatever, and I don't wanna take a ton of gear, but I wanna have enough to get some good photos. When I am in that position, what I'll typically do is eliminate the film camera and typically eliminate at least 2, if not 3 lenses from the lineup. Now, I will sometimes typically still use this bag for that scenario, and this is what I'll be doing on this trip when I'm at the conference I'm going to. I still want to carry a camera, but I've got to carry some other stuff as well. Business cards, a phone charger, just kind of like a long list of different things. But this still stays in the case just right here. But I keep the same organization, these other pockets for other things, and that makes it just one system and it's done. And in the event that I need something with autofocus, these days I've been carrying around the OM3. Like I just got back from a family visit on the East Coast and I didn't bring any of my Leica gear. I just brought this camera. And honestly, it was perfectly fine for a trip where I'm not doing really any serious photography. I'm visiting family, but I definitely want to get some good shots. And this camera performed so well on that trip. You're taking a look at some of the photos now from that. That was all shot on this OM3. But this camera is only really coming out when I want autofocus, and it's like a category 3 trip for me. Now, just as a wild card, sometimes the Rolleiflex will be a medium format camera that I bring along. I put it on the right side here. And then this center section just becomes film. And I have the Rolleiflex on the right with film in the middle and the camera on the left. And if I'm feeling just really fun, I'll bring my old Canon point and shoot and just stick it down in the middle as well. And honestly, guys, this is really it. I don't carry around things like I used to when I went to travel because I don't want all the weight, I don't want all the bulk, and I don't want all the options. Your big takeaway from this video is to think in terms of categories. Am I working on a project, and what vision do I have for that project, and let that determine what gear I'm gonna bring. Number 2, am I going somewhere epic and I just wanna make great images and not risk missing the shot? So what kind of photographer do I wanna be on that trip? For me, that is a tandem, digital and film, 2 Leicas, 4 lenses, and I showed you how they ride along. And then category 3, I'm going somewhere for some other reason, but I wanna bring a camera along because I don't know what I'm gonna get into. This is just a philosophy that you can put into your own context for how you want to shoot. I think at the end of the day, the kind of photographer that we are plays a huge role in how we pack out, but the ultimate goal should be vision and limits, because you don't want to try to carry everything you have thinking you're going to use it, because the reality is you're simply not. And some of the best work ever made was made on 1 camera and 1 lens. Limitations are a gift, and we got to learn to embrace it better. So consider this video a part 2 to the bag video that I did back in the fall. I'm sure some of this was repeated information, but if you're new here, this is your first time. So again, welcome, and be sure to subscribe. I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. And if you did, be sure to like it, drop a comment, tell me where there are holes in my system, or let me know what you think about this kind of information. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.